Are you the jerk for explaining to Grandpa why the grandkids don't want to call him? We'll get into that in a bit, but first, am I the jerk for blowing up and cursing out a woman for not controlling her kids at my mom's wake? Edit at the top so it's seen. I see a lot of comments saying she, although I'm a guy. Understandable, as I never mentioned it. This happened decades ago. My mom died of cancer when I was not quite 17. She raised me on her own, so for all of my life, it was me and her. Needless to say, I was devastated and a wreck, but I digress. Skip to my mom's wake. She was laid out, standard wake setup, her up front, family down the side for people to offer condolences, and a seating area in the middle. Much of the event was a haze to me. I do remember it was busy at times, as my mom was loved by coworkers and friends groups of which she had many. During one lull in the event, I was sitting contemplating life and how to navigate it without her when I noticed two kids, a girl and a boy, probably around 8-ish or so. They approached the casket with their mom, of whom I had no knowledge of the relationship to my mom, but that wasn't uncommon. She knew a lot of people, but they paid their respects and went to sit down. More people come, but then it gets slow again. I noticed the kids approach the casket sans mom, who was talking with others. The kids then walk back to mom. A bit later, they go up again. Then they do the fast kid walk, the one where they want to run but not bring that much attention to themselves. They go right past the receiving line whispering, I touched her, me too. I realized what was going on. The kids were making it a game. I got up and yelled out, have some freaking respect. This isn't the place to let your kids run around playing touch the dead freaking body. Everyone went completely silent and looked from me to the kids to the mom. Kids started crying either from the sudden yelling at a quiet and somber occasion or for getting caught. Woman looked at me like she just sucked a whole lemon, mouth open to say something but thought better of it, huffed, and stormed out with her kids. I went out the back door to get some air and alone time to calm down. When I came back, it was back to low-level conversation, but I did notice some furtive glances my way. Always wondered if they were talking crap about me, understanding because I was grieving, or agreeing. The few times I've told this story throughout my life, I got mixed reactions. Some agree that wakes are no place for kids at all, let alone to be allowed to run around unsupervised. Some say I should have shut up and let it go without making a scene. It's one of those core memories though, one I cringe over when it comes up during the sleepless nights. So I'll leave it up to you guys. Was I the jerk? So I think this is one of those situations where OP probably could have handled it better. A little bit more under control constructively, probably with a little bit more info for the other people who weren't watching the kids. That said, I think this is also a situation where OP's not in the wrong because it's their mom's wake. They're obviously hurting, they obviously want their mom to be respected in that moment, and that person who brought her kids along should be mortified that their kids were doing that. They should have been watching them. So I think OP's not the jerk myself. Abba Zabba commented, but kids will be kids. Yep, they will. That is why parents need to parent. The reason the mom looked like she wanted to say something but thought better of it is that she had absolutely no legs to stand on. That's abhorrent behavior by kids who have zero fear of repercussions because they know from experience that their mom isn't paying attention and likely won't do anything about it. Not the jerk. Also, hi, I'm Steven, and if you guys enjoy getting to decide whether or not all of these people are jerks, why not hit those like and subscribe buttons down below? That said, our next story is, am I the jerk for not letting my best friend take advantage of me? This is a throwaway account. My best friend Diane and I have known each other since elementary school. Diane is dating Roy. He has 2 teens who stay with him half the time. I'll refer to them as Diane's stepkids. Now on to the issue. I'm getting married in 6 months. My fiance lives in another state and I'll be moving to live with him. I own a condo, fully paid off, and I'm keeping it so I have a place to stay when I come back for work meetings and visiting family. My fiance also has family here, so I estimate we'll be back here every other month, more or less. Diane agreed to hold an emergency key in case maintenance needs to access my condo. I thought I had everything settled until 2 weeks ago. Diane and I met for lunch, and she says she has a proposal for me. Her stepson goes to college near my condo. She says it would be good if stepson condo sat for me. That way, I wouldn't have to worry about the place when I'm not there. He would pay me a small stipend each month to cover any wear or tear. He'll stay with his father whenever I'm in town. She says it'll be a win-win situation, as I'll be making a little bit of income on an apartment that would otherwise be empty. In a split second, I imagined all the liabilities I would be exposed to by having a very social college kid living unsupervised in my home. Coming home and having to clean up behind him, complaints from my neighbors, and my poor bed? Nope. Honestly, just the idea of having anyone living in my home when I'm not there is unappealing. So I thanked my friend for the idea and told her I just didn't want anyone living in my condo. I wanted to be able to come and go as I pleased without worrying about it. She kept pushing the issue, telling me why it was a great idea, with me telling her no and reasons why. Finally, she said that on the basis of our friendship, would I at least think about it overnight. I told her that she was basically asking me to take on a tenant and all the financial and legal responsibilities that come with it. So if she truly believed this was a good idea, she and her boyfriend will have to sign a contract making them financially responsible for any and all liabilities. She asked why did she have to be on the contract. I said I was only asking of her what she was asking of me. She got quiet. I told her to think about it and get back to me. Roy later called me and said he would be willing to sign the contract. I said Diane would have to sign it too, as she's the only reason why I'm considering it. I then explained to him why I wanted to keep the apartment empty. He told me Diane came to him with the idea and said she would talk to me about it. He wouldn't have bothered with it if he knew the full story. It was a pleasant conversation. The next day, Diane called and said that I embarrassed her to her boyfriend. I told her if she had just respected that I wasn't interested in her proposal, we wouldn't have had this problem. Am I the jerk in how I handled this? Edit, to be clear, I did not give her the key yet. I was going to give it to her closer when I was going to move. I do not plan on giving her the key anymore. I feel like this is a pretty simple one because it boils down to it's OP's property. And it really makes me wonder about the future of OP's friendship with that person. I'd love to know in the comments if people think you can have a conversation or a situation like this and still be able to kind of rekindle and move forward with that friendship. Because I'm wondering what that resentment might be from Diane going forward. Our next story is, am I the jerk for not coddling my nephew? My 24-year-old nephew is staying with my mother-in-law and father-in-law to learn how to take care of himself. My husband, our kids, 23, 21, and 18, and I live a mile away from them. My nephew is very coddled. At 24, he's never held a job, doesn't drive, doesn't cook, doesn't know how to do his laundry, and has no social skills. He's been here for almost a month, and for someone here to learn independence, he's not very independent. He's calling me and my kids daily to ask us to take him to one specific mall 15 miles away when there's a perfectly fine one 2 miles away, across the street from a bus stop. He wants us to drive him to the grocery store a half-mile away because it's too cold to walk, 50 degrees Fahrenheit. We put up with it for the first few weeks, but lately we've been agreeing to drives if one of us is already going in that direction. If not, we suggest Uber, walking, or the bus. My older two kids went to a party on Friday night and they invited him to go with them. I use the word party very loosely. There were 15 people building gingerbread houses, playing White Elephant and a Mario Kart tournament. No drinking, no loud music. The party was at my cousin's house an hour and a half away. My nephew agreed to go. Then, 20 minutes in, started texting me asking how long this party would last. Then, saying he was overwhelmed and only expected 2 or 3 people to be there, complaining that my kids wouldn't take him home, and then asking me to pick him up. I told him that he agreed to go and that if he heard party and expected 3 people, that's on him. So if he couldn't handle being there, he could either Uber or take a train. He wasn't willing to do either, so we sat in the living room and waited for my kids to be ready to go. He told my sister-in-law about us refusing rides and me not picking him up from the party, so she called me furious that we're treating him like this and that he chose to come out here because he'd have support while learning to be independent. I told her that learning to be independent means learning to do stuff by himself, and that I don't plan to coddle a grown man. If my kids can figure it out, so can he. Now she's mad that I'm refusing to support her son learning independence and that the family is supposed to be better than this. Am I the jerk for not coddling him? I think OP's not the jerk because honestly, I think what OP's doing is kind of that bird pushing the younglings out of the nest. What OP's doing is kind of subtly pushing them and trying to condition them to get to that point of, okay, screw it, I'll do it myself and figure it out myself. If he was actually stuck somewhere and in trouble and needed help, OP would understandably, I'm assuming, bail them out, come get them. But what OP is doing isn't even like tough love, it's just more of a, sorry, I'm not going to do everything for you. Classic City Matt commented, not the jerk. I'm guessing that sister-in-law is an important part of the reason your nephew is having to learn independence at age 24. Our next story is, am I the jerk for canceling my son's birthday over $10? Am I the jerk? I, 34-year-old female, have a son who's turning 13 this weekend. His birthday falls close to Christmas and I'm not wealthy, we just get by, so many years he doesn't get a full party. This year felt like a big milestone becoming a teenager, so I wanted to make it special. We invited 10 kids and rented out some batting cages for an hour and a half. I ordered a cake and planned a whole game and food and snacks. We live in an apartment, so I planned a scavenger hunt outside to keep them entertained after the batting cages and wanted the prize to be some hidden money. So on Monday, I pulled out $20 and got 4 $5 bills. Today's Thursday, and his last day of school before break, they were having a party at school, and so I pulled the $5 bill out of my wallet and handed it to him and saw the other 3 5s. I work from home, so I went to my room to go back to work. While in there, I heard his friend come inside for 5 minutes before they left together. A little after that, I walk out to get some more coffee and I notice that both my purse and wallet are open, which is not like me. So I go and look and see I only have 1 $5 bill in my purse. I immediately call my son asking if he took $10, which he denies. I say, well, if you didn't take it, then your friend must have, and he says no. I feel like I should add that I don't think his friend took the money. He's been in my house lots before and nothing has ever gone missing. My son was with me when I pulled out the money at the store and knew what I had and where it was. My son has also never stolen money but does sneak extra snacks and cookies and lies a lot about little things, and his lying has been an issue for a while now, and sadly, I've caught his lying so much, I don't believe him much. My son refuses to say what happened and how the money disappeared. They were the only two in the living room, and I 100% saw it when I handed him the $5. When he got home, we tried to talk about it, but he still says he didn't do it, and neither did his friend. So I told him that his birthday was canceled, as I feel like he's lying and I do not trust people in the apartment if he has no clue what happened to my money. A part of me feels like I am overreacting over $10, but I feel like if my son did take it and I let him still have a party, I'm setting an example that he can just steal more next time. So, am I the jerk? I definitely agree that what OP's experiencing here is a problem, but I don't know if it's fair to cancel the party altogether over it. It's not in the realm of impossibility that OP maybe misplaced it. One could argue that OP should have been more secure with their financial stuff, not ignoring the fact that it shouldn't have been stolen if it was. And OP doesn't know if the friend did take the money. Maybe OP's punishing their kid because they've got a bad, crappy friend who stole money from their friend's mom and wants to lie about it. Therein Moonglow commented, "You're the jerk. The truth is that you don't know that either kid took your money. Maybe you put it somewhere safe and forgot. Maybe it fell out of your wallet. Your brain fills in details all the time. You could be mistaken that you saw that money in your wallet. I'm a teacher. If I had one of your $5 every time a student swore they remembered turning a paper in, only to later find it in their backpack, I could retire right now. Human brains make mistakes. I get it. Money is tight. It's stressful. Don't make this $10 a formative memory that your son will be telling a therapist a decade from now. It's already hard having a December birthday. Please don't make it harder for him." Our next story is, am I the jerk for not getting my boyfriend's family Christmas gifts after they split the bill at his college graduation dinner? My boyfriend and I have been together for almost 6 years. His parents are the most financially unstable individuals I've ever met. They live so out of their means, it's sickening. Last weekend, my boyfriend graduated from college. His family traveled 6 hours to be there, and I told my boyfriend in advance that his parents should expect to pay for his entire graduation dinner. The topic of how expensive is dinner got brought up countless times. My boyfriend felt so bad, he ended up picking a wing spot for dinner. His parents still asked to split the bill at this dinner. Mind you, my graduation dinner was $500, and my parents would have never made anyone else pay a portion of this. The total amount for my family's portion of his graduation dinner was $56. I was outraged. Fast forward today, 1 week later, and his family is at T-Mobile upgrading to the latest iPhone. The out-of-pocket cost today is almost $400, and they have no problem adding that to their debt. This was my final straw. I told my boyfriend I would not be giving his family any Christmas gifts because of this. I don't think it was fair to ask my family to pay for anything during his graduation celebration, and I consider this extremely rude. Am I in the wrong? ETA, my boyfriend's parents invited us to the dinner. I did not say that they should pay for every meal. I pulled them aside and told him that they should expect to pay for the one meal they invited us all to, since they invited us and we had paid for many other expenses to be there. They paid for the friends he invited to this dinner, they just didn't pay for my family. My family has no problem paying for anything. They love my boyfriend and wanted to support him. They did not expect anyone to pay for anything. I just thought it was rude and disheartening for his family to not plan their spending accordingly. So this is one I'll admit I don't have a great should they have or should they not have paid for all of the expenses on that meal. And also, they split the bill, so they still paid for some of it, and it was a $56 bill. Is it really worth blowing up any goodwill you might have with their family because of a $28 bill that you had to split amongst your family? It's about the principle, darling. That's why I'm feuding with your parents on Christmas and not getting them anything. Swirly Flurry commented, "You're the jerk. You're angry because your boyfriend's parents didn't pay for your family's dinner?" I told my boyfriend in advance that his parents should expect to pay for his entire graduation dinner. That's not your decision to make, period. On the other hand, Peaches and Double Cream commented, "Not the jerk. Family invited you guys to a ceremonial dinner and had to travel? That's embarrassing. I would never let my invitees pay. Difference in values or even in culture perhaps, but girl, imagine later on." Our next story is, am I the jerk for not wanting to provide a whole Christmas for my sister's kids? I, 37-year-old female, have 2 children, 5-year-old male and 7-year-old female. Their Christmas gifts are already bought and paid for, and their Christmas is settled. My sister, 35-year-old female, have 2 kids of their own, 2-year-old male and 4-year-old male. My sister's husband died in September, and the grief has absolutely destroyed her. It's prevented her from celebrating holidays with her kids. I've been very supportive and have been there for her and her children. I took her kids out trick-or-treating with mine when she was going through a very big wave of grief and felt unable to. I've also taken her kids to my house for the weekend when she needed a break. I have never invalidated her grief. We know Christmas this year is going to be extremely tough for her and her kids. My whole family and I made sure her kids had plenty of gifts because my sister felt like she wasn't able to go Christmas shopping without breaking down. I'm in a bit of a tough spot as I recently got into a minor car accident. Nobody was hurt and needed to pay to fix damages while my husband and I both work paycheck to paycheck. Recently, my sister called me and told me that she didn't feel like her kids had enough gifts. I told her that I'm sorry if she doesn't think it's enough, that I tried and I don't really have much spending money since all of the money I'm making is going towards fixing our car and groceries and other necessities. I let her know that she can always order some more gifts online and have them come after Christmas if it's too hard to go shopping in person, but she was adamant she wanted them to open everything on Christmas. I got a bit upset at this because I really tried everything with the situation I'm in. My parents stepped in to get her and the kids gifts as well. I understand grief can cause people to be irrational, but I can't help but feel annoyed at the way she's treating my help. So, am I the jerk? OP is doing a lot of stuff for their friend, and kudos to OP for being such a patient and good person. OP's not the jerk here. If the mom felt like they weren't getting enough gifts, they should have dealt with it and tried to analyze that a lot earlier on when you could still do online shopping and have it arrive in time. Frosty Awareness 192 commented, "If it's not finances that are stopping her from buying her kids gifts, but the fact that she can't emotionally handle it, then why not just ask for her credit card and do the shopping for her?" OP replied, "Oh, that's actually a very simple solution. I'm not sure why I didn't think of that." Our next story is, am I the jerk for telling my sister not to come to my wedding if she kept bringing up her miscarriage? 3 years ago, my younger sister Jen had a miscarriage at 9 weeks. She and her partner Scott were devastated. I was there for them as much as I could be, but it was a tough time for them. A few months later, Scott left Jen. Jen said it was because of the miscarriage. Her and Scott had a close-knit group of friends, and I found it odd that no one has checked on her, so I rang her best friend to suggest a girls' night. She told me the reason they had broken up, Jen had slept with someone else. When he confronted her, she blamed the miscarriage. 9 months ago, I got engaged and asked Jen to be my maid of honor. At our engagement party, Jen became inconsolable at seeing our friend's baby. Everyone's focus, including mine, was on Jen all night. I wasn't upset with her. I figured that she was imagining what all these big family events would be like with a baby, so I gave her grace. Since then, anything to do with the wedding, she brings up her miscarriage, but only at events related to my wedding. I asked her to help me pick flowers, and she lost it when she saw baby blue roses. She's convinced she was having a boy, and we had to leave. When we went wedding dress shopping and she picked out a maternity bridesmaid dress and asked to try it on so that she could see how she would have looked. When she did that, I thought, she's actually lost it, and had to walk away when she started stuffing a cushion up her dress. I have tried to talk to her about going to counseling again, but she is insisting that this is a normal part of the grieving process. She planned my hen party, which I was so grateful for, but I found out after she'd sent everyone a list of rules, which included no talking about pregnancy or kids, no wearing baby blue, etc., etc. I confronted her, but I was gentle about it. I suggested counseling again and said that I was there for her, but also that if she wanted to impose any other rules on anything to do with my wedding, she had to come to me first. It all came to a head when one of my friends and bridesmaids announced she was pregnant. She will be 7 months at the wedding. After the announcement, Jen called her and said that it would be best if she didn't come because she couldn't maintain her peace if she was forced to be reminded of the loss of her child. I lost it when I found out and said she was using her miscarriage to get attention, and if she made one more demand or made a single comment about it at anything wedding related, she was uninvited, and in either case, she is no longer my maid of honor. Since then, Jen has told everyone I've dumped her from the wedding for being too upset about the loss of her baby, in retaliation, and I've told everyone and anyone who will listen the real reason her and Scott broke up. Half our friends and family think I'm a jerk, half think she is. I'm still horrifically angry, and stuck in a place where I'm not sure if I'm rightly angry, or if I should be more understanding. Am I the jerk? Edit, a couple of people have said that I went too far telling people about the reasons why she broke up with Scott, and I can take that, but just for context, I had multiple people reach out to me who she had spoken to first. Each essentially said that I was being a B word for dumping her from the wedding for having a miscarriage, and said something along the lines of, she's lost her partner and her sister because she lost her baby. I felt I needed to correct them that she actually lost neither of us because of the miscarriage. She lost us because of her actions since, and her blaming the miscarriage is part of a pattern of behavior. I didn't go into details, just said, actually, she lost Scott because she cheated on him, and she lost me because she uninvited one of my bridesmaids without my knowing because she's pregnant. I was upset and hurt that they were saying this to me, and also that she wanted everyone to think I was the sort of person who would dump my sister because she lost a baby, so I lashed out by telling them what actually happened with Scott. I suppose as a way to defend myself. But again, if the consensus is that this was too far, I'll accept that and take it on the chin. Edit 2. Thanks for the feedback, everyone. Someone mentioned the phrase weaponized grief, and seeing that written down, that's what it feels like. She clearly didn't deal with her grief at the time she had the miscarriage, but I'm surprised that it's presented itself now in the way that it has now. Part of me wonders if she's seeing me get married and thinking it should have been her and Scott. Perhaps her feelings of guilt over what she did and not dealing with her grief have caused her to have some form of mental break? I'm not sure, but I'm glad to see the consensus seems to be that I was right to set the boundaries I did. This gives me some measure of peace as we get closer to the wedding, although if it comes to it and she's not there, I will still be absolutely devastated. Yeah, I think it's pretty clear that OP's not the jerk. I never want to diminish grief. But 3 years in and trying to uninvite somebody who is pregnant because you can't cope, there's just too much of a problem there. With the amount of fortified defenses the sister has set up in regards to, you can't do anything to me that reminds me of a baby, is there any getting through to them on this? Any making them realize how overextended these feelings are becoming? Lycam commented, not the jerk. Is this grief though? It looks more like she's weaponizing the miscarriage to gain sympathy and attention from others and making grief her whole personality. Has she always made everything about herself? How was the relationship before the miscarriage? OP replied, she's always sought out attention, but not to the detriment of others, if that makes sense. Our relationship has always been incredibly strong. Not to go into too much detail, we had a difficult upbringing with abusive parents, and we've always had a close bond because of that. Our next story is, am I the jerk for telling my 28-year-old female, grandpa, 84-year-old male, he doesn't get calls from his grandkids because he's a bully? Hi, I was over at Grandpa's house yesterday. He and my Nana got new phones and were trying to set them up with my help. We called customer support. My Nana was trying to increase the font on her phone, and the customer service rep was guiding us. As we were working on our phones, my grandpa got agitated. My Nana was trying to ask questions to the representative, and several times my grandpa shushed her. I noticed, but I didn't think it was a big deal and was showing my Nana the settings on my phone and how big I could make my font. My grandpa leaned over and said, "Shut up." I said, "No." He said, "I'm telling you to be quiet." And I said, "No." Then he stood up and took his jacket off and said, "Get the heck out of my house." I said, "No." He said he was going to call the police, and I said, "Fine, go ahead." My Nana grabbed my arm and told me to stay with her at the house, too. He was yelling at me, and I told him he was mean and a bully, and that's why none of his grandchildren call him. He told my family, and my aunt texted me to tell me to apologize, but I can't because what I said was true. The other grandkids don't like him, and he doesn't have a lot of respect. His whole life, he goes into these rages, and in my late teens, I stayed with him even though I don't currently, and he kicked me out twice. Once for breaking curfew, because I didn't have a key to the house and couldn't get in even if I made it home. The other time was for something I don't remember. My younger brother, when he turned 18, stayed with him for maybe 2 months, and then he got kicked out for not talking to him enough. My older sister lasted maybe 4 months, then he flew in a rage and kicked her out too. I don't know all the details. But anyway, he goes through these moments where he's disappointed nobody talks to him because he has a lot of wisdom to impart, and everyone is missing their opportunity to know him. He asks about my siblings, and I started to say, "Do you need their numbers?" Because he wants information, and my siblings do not want him to know about them. He says, "I'm the grandpa, they should call me." Simply put, if I were in OP's shoes, I would never apologize to a guy who acted like that. OP has nothing to apologize for. That man has no self-awareness and will refuse to have any, I'm assuming, until the day he passes, and I just feel bad for his wife, who, from the sounds of it, didn't want OP to leave, maybe out of fear. I mean, if anybody needs to call the police, it's probably OP on the grandpa. Our next story is, am I the jerk? Got into an argument with my 16-year-old about a show they like. Am I the jerk? Hi, I'm trying to figure out if I'm in the wrong here. If so, how do I go about fixing this? I was watching a show in the living room when my 16-year-old came in and asked what I was watching. They said they had a show recommendation. While I was queuing it up, they told me that the opening 2 scenes were basically the best ever. As the show started, they talked through it, pointing stuff out that they thought was cool. We got through the scenes and they had me pause the show. They asked me my thoughts. I said I didn't really have any original thoughts to share. They asked why, and I said because I didn't really get to analyze the show and watch it for myself because they told me everything about it before I could. My kid got annoyed and left the room, going down the hallway saying, "You could have at least pretended you cared." I responded, "I wanted to care. I would have. It seemed like a cool opening to a show to experience." And they went in their room and shut the door. Am I the jerk? The show is The Summer Hikaru Died on Netflix. I don't think OP's necessarily the jerk. I think it might have been one of those situations where their 16-year-old kid was really enjoying the show, which is anime. Maybe it resonated with them very deeply and they wanted to share it with their parents, maybe not knowing if their parents would even necessarily be open to something like anime. The real problem here is OP wasn't given a chance to actually connect with any of it or process it normally. I mean, I certainly don't. If I'm shown something and you can feel that person or that friend or relative eyeballing you, maybe that smiling look out of the corner of your eye trying to see every reaction you have. I mean, your parents likely aren't reaction YouTubers. There could have been a possibility where it really did register with OP and they just don't express it with some shocked Wojak face or something. Wintertime in Canada 23 commented, "You are the jerk. Your teenager was trying to connect with you. You didn't have to give them a snarky response. Apologize, buy some ice cream, and ask if you can watch it again with them. They were obviously enthusiastic about it and wanted to share." But with that being said, that's all the time we have for today. Now, if you want to hear another absolutely crazy Am I the Jerk Here story, check out that video on the left. Or if you missed my latest video, check out that video on the right. That said, I'll see you all next time with some more stories.